The ground beef that hospitalized 15 people is probably sitting in your refrigerator right now. In November 2024, over 167,000 pounds of ground beef was recalled after an E. coli outbreak made people violently ill across multiple states. But here is what nobody is telling you. The brands linked to contamination, mystery fillers, and flat-out disgusting quality issues are not some back-alley butcher operations. They are the same red and white packages you have been throwing in your cart for years. So which ones are slowly ruining your Taco Tuesday, and which ones are actually worth your money? Walmart's Great Value ground beef seems like the smart shopper's choice. It's cheap, it's everywhere, and that rollback sticker makes you feel like you're winning at life. But here's the thing about Walmart's ground beef that your wallet doesn't want you to know: you are buying convenience, not quality. Walmart uses what is called case-ready beef. That means the ground beef arrives at the store already ground and packaged from massive processing facilities hundreds of miles away. No in-store butcher touching it, no fresh grinding happening behind that meat counter. It's basically meat that has been on a road trip before it ever meets your shopping cart. Customers have been complaining for years that Walmart's private label ground beef discolors almost immediately after purchase, turning that unappetizing brownish gray color that makes you question every life decision that led you to this moment. And here is where it gets interesting. At around $5 to $6 per pound, Walmart's ground beef is not even that cheap anymore. For that price, you would expect beef that does not look like it has already been rejected by your neighbor's dog. The 88 to 12 lean to fat ratio sounds healthy on paper, but fat is flavor, folks. You are paying for ground beef that is both lean and flavorless. That is not a bargain. That is a punishment. But at least Walmart's beef looks like beef. Wait until you hear about what has been showing up in other discount brands. Aldi has built an empire on cheap groceries, and millions of Americans swear by those prices. But their ground beef is like playing Russian roulette with your dinner plans. A Reddit user said they used to have good luck with Aldi, but recently it has been awful. They said they actually wondered if they had contracted a red meat disease because the smell made them so nauseous while cooking it. Let that sink in for a second. The smell made them consider whether they had contracted a disease. That is not a ringing endorsement, folks. That is a cry. The problem with Aldi's ground beef is consistency, or rather the complete lack of it. One week you might get perfectly acceptable meat. The next week you are opening a package of something that smells like it died twice. At around $4.29 per pound, Aldi's prices are attractive, but here is the math nobody wants to do. If 1 out of every 4 packages makes you gag and gets thrown in the trash, you are not saving money. You are paying to be disgusted. Back in 2023, there was a USDA public health alert for ground beef sold at Aldi because some packages had contamination issues. When federal agencies are sending out warnings about your budget beef, maybe it is time to spend the extra dollar somewhere else. Makes sense, right? Speaking of stores you would not expect to have meat problems, let us talk about Target. You walk into Target for a throw pillow and somehow leave with $200 worth of stuff you did not know you needed. It happens to all of us, but if ground beef is in that cart, you might want to reconsider. Target's meat department has earned a reputation for, let us say, inconsistency. Customer reviews paint a picture of ground beef that arrives looking less than fresh, sitting in display cases that sometimes do not look like they have been cleaned since the Reagan administration. The combination of questionable product quality and hygiene concerns makes Target's ground beef something to avoid. And here is the kicker: Target's prices are not even competitive with dedicated grocery stores. You are paying Target prices for Walmart quality, and your taste buds know the difference even if your brain does not want to admit it. But individual stores are only part of the problem. The real issue is what is actually inside that ground beef package, and trust me, you do not want to know. except you need to know. Let me tell you about something the meat industry does not want you thinking about. Pink slime. It is officially called lean finely textured beef, abbreviated LFTB. This stuff is made from leftover scraps and fat trimmings that used to go into dog food. These bits are heated to separate the fat, then treated with ammonium hydroxide gas to kill bacteria, and then mixed back into ground beef as a cheap filler. Back in 2012, investigations revealed that roughly 70% of ground beef sold in American supermarkets contained this filler. The public outcry was massive. Fast food chains dropped it. Schools banned it. The company that makes it nearly went bankrupt. But here's what most people do not realize. Pink slime never really went away. In fact, the USDA recently allowed manufacturers to simply label products containing this filler as ground beef with no special disclosure required. You literally cannot tell from the package whether you are buying pure beef or beef stretched with ammonia-treated scraps. The only guaranteed way to avoid it is to buy organic or to buy from stores that have publicly committed to never using LFTB. Otherwise, that cheap tube of ground beef from the generic brand might be up to 15% pink slime, and you would never know. Which brings us to those generic store-brand tubes of ground beef you see stacked in the meat cooler. You know the ones. Usually under $4 per pound, vacuum sealed into a plastic tub that looks like it came from a science experiment. These are the ground beef products most likely to contain LFTB fillers, and the ones most likely to come from massive processing facilities where hundreds of different cows get ground together in the same batch. Here is why that matters. When your ground beef comes from potentially hundreds of different animals processed in the same facility, one contaminated cow can spread bacteria across thousands of pounds of meat. That is why ground beef recalls are almost always massive, affecting hundreds of thousands of pounds at a time. That cheap tube might save you $2 today, but food poisoning costs a lot more than the premium beef you should have bought. Now, Trader Joe's is going to surprise some people on this list. The store has a cult following, and people swear by everything from their cookie butter to their frozen orange chicken. But their ground beef, it has developed a reputation that does not match the store's otherwise quality image. Multiple customers have reported that Trader Joe's grass-fed ground beef, which used to be a go-to option, suddenly started showing serious quality issues. One reviewer said when fried, the fat in the pan would congeal into gray, grainy globules. That is not normal beef behavior. That is beef crying for help. Other complaints include excessive gristle, alarming amounts of grainy fat, and packages that seem packed with more problems than protein. Trader Joe's positions itself as the quality alternative, and they charge quality prices. When you pay premium and get problems, that is the worst kind of value equation. You are not saving money, and you are not getting quality. You are just getting played. So what is an American supposed to do when they want a burger that does not require a risk assessment? Good news, there are brands that actually deserve your trust. Laura's Lean has been making ground beef the right way since the 1980s, and here is what makes them different from the discount disasters we just talked about. Their beef contains absolutely nothing added. No water, no fillers, no additives, no preservatives, no coloring or dye, just beef, that's it. The cattle are raised without antibiotics or added growth hormones, grazing on pastures the way nature intended. And here is something your health-conscious family members will appreciate. Their 96% lean ground beef is certified by the American Heart Association. When was the last time a heart organization put their stamp of approval on your burger? At around $7 to $8 per pound, Laura's Lean costs more than budget brands. But here is what you are really paying for: consistency. Package after package, year after year, customers report the same high-quality experience. No surprises, no off-putting smells, no gray globules of mystery fat. One longtime customer summed it up this way: "I am not a blogger nor a partner of Laura's. I am just a mom of a large family who has purchased this meat for years with no regrets." That is the kind of endorsement money cannot buy. Well, technically it can, since you are buying the beef, but you know what I mean. For folks willing to pay a bit more for premium quality and ethical sourcing, Whole Foods 365 brand ground beef represents something genuinely different in the grocery store meat aisle. Here is what most people do not know. While mass-produced ground beef from big processors can contain meat from over 100 different cows in a single package, Whole Foods ground beef arrives at stores with all the beef in each package coming from a single animal. Think about what that means for a contamination risk. If one cow in a batch of 100 has a problem, the whole batch is compromised. But when your beef comes from one source, the risk drops dramatically. Whole Foods also grinds their beef in store, which means a fresher product and complete control over quality. If you do not like what is in the display case, ask one of their actual butchers to grind something fresh for you. That is a service you will not find at Walmart. The store has also publicly committed to never using pink slime or lean, finely textured beef. Their standards require no added growth hormones and prohibit routine antibiotic use. At around $6 to $8 per pound, depending on the lean ratio, you are paying for transparency and quality control that budget brands simply cannot match. Is it cheap? No. Is it worth it? Every single bite. And finally, for families who need quality in bulk without the whole paycheck price tag, Costco's organic ground beef delivers genuine value. The Kirkland Signature organic ground beef comes in convenient packages, typically around 4 pounds divided into smaller portions. It is certified USDA organic, which means no antibiotics, no added growth hormones, and the guarantee that cattle were raised according to strict organic standards. At $6.25 per pound, it is competitive with Whole Foods, while giving you the bulk buying power that Costco does best. An 85 to 15 lean-to-fat ratio hits that sweet spot for flavor and versatility. Lean enough to feel good about eating, but with enough fat to actually taste like beef instead of cardboard. Customer reviews consistently rate this product 4 to 4.5 stars, with particular praise for its consistency, which is exactly what the budget brands lack. Here is a practical tip for meal prep. Divide that big package into 1-pound portions as soon as you get home. Freeze what you will not use in the next day or two, and you have essentially meal prepped for weeks. That bulk buying is inconvenient excuse does not hold water when you have a freezer full of quality beef ready to go. Costco has also publicly stated they have never used pink slime or LFTB in their beef products. Their vice president of quality assurance once told ABC News, "Anything that we sell at Costco, we want to explain its origins. And I personally don't know how to explain trim treated with ammonia in our ground beef." That is the kind of straight talk you want from the people supplying your family's food. One more thing worth mentioning is transparency. If you do not have access to these premium brands, there is always the option of finding a local butcher who grinds their beef fresh daily from whole muscle cuts. Yes, it costs more. Yes, it requires a separate trip. But butcher ground beef gives you complete transparency about what is in your package. And many butchers will even let you pick the exact cut they grind for you. Want 80 to 20 from Pure Chuck? They will do it. Want sirloin ground lean? Done. That level of customization is worth its weight in properly sourced beef. Now, let us wrap this up with what really matters when you are standing in that grocery store aisle trying to decide between the $4 tube and the $7 package. Ground beef is the most consumed beef product in America. We eat over 27 pounds of it per person every year. That is a lot of burgers, meatballs, tacos, and spaghetti sauce. Every single one of those meals is an opportunity to feed your family something good or something you would rather not think too hard about. The cheap brands count on you not asking questions. They count on that rollback sticker distracting you from the quality issues. They count on the fact that you have been buying the same brand for 20 years and do not want to change now. But your taste buds know the difference. Your stomach definitely knows the difference. And your family deserves better than being part of the next recall statistic. The math is simple. 1 quality pound of ground beef that actually tastes good and cooks right beats 3 pounds of discount meat that makes you wonder what you just ate. Buy quality once instead of disappointment twice, and you will taste the difference immediately. Now you know which brands to trust and which ones belong nowhere near your shopping cart. The only question left is, what are you having for dinner?